Alright everybody, so I've been working on the Kaiju a little bit. It's not very complicated. There's just a lot of little screws and stuff. So basically, to take the entire back half, like the back differential and everything, A-arms and stuff, you pull these 6 screws right here. So these 2 small screws, these 2 big screws, and then these 2 small screws. And then on the underneath, you have to pull off the skid plates, which you have to pull the center one and the rear one. So that's 4 screws, that's 6 screws. So it's a lot of screws, but then you can just pop this out and get the center diff out. Now I'm still not sure what's going on with this truck. I think I did order a new spur gear, but the spur gear doesn't look very chewed up. You know, it's a little rough from rocks getting in there and stuff, but it doesn't look like broken or anything. So, and I adjusted my gear mesh as far down as I can get it. I can't put it any further down, like towards the center diff. So I don't know what's going on with this thing. I'm going to try putting a bigger pinion on this thing. Even though I don't have a pinion that's this long, I do have a pinion that's about 3/4 of what is being used on that. So I'm going to go ahead and try putting that on. But I just want to show you this real quick. And the center diff, it does have silicone oil in it. So it is already tuned basically. So with that being said, I'm not going to have to tune it because the oil in there has to be at least 100K, I think. It's pretty thick. But what I'm going to do is pull this apart for you guys real quick and then flop it over and kind of show you what I'm looking at. So like I said, you just pull those screws out and then you can kind of just slide it apart like that. You can even undo the LED right here if you want to. Cut this little zip tie and then undo that to take the rear completely out. And then we'll flip it over right like that. So that's where the center diff sits in, right there. Now if you want to pull this one off right here, get you guys down in here close. If you want to pull this off, you have to pull the screws for the steering out, and I didn't want to do that. I pulled all of these screws out and then I realized I had to do that, and I don't want to do that. And I was able to get the center diff out without having to pull this front skid plate off. So what I'm gonna do to try and fix this thing is, like I said, I'm just gonna take the motor out and put a different pinion gear on it. Hopefully I have a pinion gear that is close to this amount of teeth, because it already hit thermal on me when I was bashing on 6S. Now I do like how this thing runs on 6S, so I do want to be able to run it on 6S. I might have to put a motor fan on it maybe. That might be a solution to the overheating problem. But as far as everything else, I mean, it's pretty simple design, you know. Like I said, it was quick and easy to do all of this. It's just, I'm still trying to figure it out. So I'm going to put a new pinion in it, like I said, and then see if that helps. So I took this rear little holder for the body tray out. It's just 2 screws to get to this screw. Now I previously removed this screw right here. As you can see, there's a little hole right there. I removed that to get more throw on this motor mount, because that actually locks into this other piece, and I needed it to go further down onto the center diff spur. So I pulled that screw out and then I pushed this down as far as it can go, right where it is now, and then I threaded this back in, but that still wasn't enough, I don't think. So I'm going to go ahead and take this screw out, and then you have a screw on the underneath, so we'll flip it over. So there's a screw right there. that you have to take out so you can get your motor out. All right, everybody. Well, I feel like a real dum-dum now. Maybe you guys can see that. Hopefully it'll focus. Come on, focus, focus. See all that scarring on that shaft? Yeah, that pinion was the problem. This old pinion, it looked like it was down nice and tight, but it wasn't. But I will say I do have a pinion that will work. This will definitely work. And it's a 9-tooth. And this is a 10-tooth. So I'm going to put the 9-tooth on it. And hopefully I'll have a little less top speed. But hopefully it will knock it out of that thermal range that I hit. But that was the whole problem this whole time. So yeah, now I feel really dumb. But that's part of it, guys. That's why I'm showing this to you, because it would have been as simple as me throwing a hex driver on that and seeing that it was loose without having to pull the whole entire truck apart. But the cool thing about doing that is now I know that the center diff is tuned with silicone oil, a very heavy silicone oil, so I don't have to worry about that. I'm not sure I'm going to do the front or rear diff. I don't want too much friction going on because this does have a plastic spur. So I'm just going to kind of leave it. It was bleeding a little bit of power to the front end, but not bad. I'm going to throw this thing back together. Hopefully this is enough information for you guys. I know that's one part of it is you guys like to know, but it's literally just putting the screws back in. I probably will videotape myself doing it, but just have it going kind of fast. And as you can see, I did put bigger battery straps in here as well. But to get this motor out and to get this center diff out and stuff, I had to take a lot of the truck apart, like a lot of the truck. So, that's just kind of how it is. This pinion is roughly the same size as the 10-tooth. It's like the same exact diameter on the outside. So I'm hoping that will work because the gear mesh seemed good, which is why I tore it down so far. And I can't believe myself just not even thinking about throwing a hex driver on that pinion gear to see if it was tight. I checked all the hardware on this whole truck except for that, yep, that was my bad. All right, well, I'm gonna throw this thing back together quick style and get it back out and bash it again. Alright, seems like it's a little tight, so I'll go ahead and adjust that gear mesh real quick. There's about perfect. So, if I can keep that from moving. And I know, you guys, I know this is not the preferred method, using needle nose, but I couldn't find my little wrench, and I have no idea where it is. And I don't have another wrench that small, so. And this thing doesn't come with tools. There we go. That's what you want to hear. A little click. Alright, so go ahead and reefer down. I'm being very careful not to round this thing out either. Okay, so transmitter on. ESC on. This is just a 2S pack to check it out. Yeah, that's way better. There we go. Alright, so now that that is good, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this screw. And put some blue thread lock on it. Doesn't take a whole lot. I want to get more than I want on there, I'm pretty sure. There we go. See those threads nice and wet. Need some more blue thread lock, it looks like. Ooh, I got lucky, it fell right down in the hole. That was close. Okay, so what I'm doing, since this pinion is slightly smaller than the old one, is I'm lining that grub screw right on the outside, like literally right on the outside of that plastic spur gear. And we're going to go ahead and test this out. Yeah, it's not hitting. Hopefully you guys can see that. But it's right on the edge, but it's not hitting. Now, let's listen to it again. Still got some gear noise, but see that? That's perfect gear mesh. So hopefully this smaller pinion helps out with the overheating issue and doesn't destroy the spur, but I ordered an extra spur gear anyways. But hopefully that is kind of what you guys wanted, and like a tutorial video of how to take this thing apart and put it back together. Now if you can put something back together and leave no screws, which all this stuff is for other stuff that's broken right now, that's a really good sign. And I did mess up on these ones. I don't know why I did that. I thought to myself that they were the wrong ones. But you can see all my hardware is back in, the screws back in there. I didn't even need to take that one out actually, but I did it just to be safe, make it easy on myself. And the last little thing that goes on is your pinion cover. Goes right down on there, and then you just run that screw in. Now surprisingly, for how sealed up it seems like everything is, there was a ton of dirt and like really fine rocks inside there with that spur, so it's getting in through somewhere. I'm going to see, hopefully, if my gear mesh isn't too far, maybe I can run this screw back in, because that's where that screw goes. But of course they make it to where everything is in your way, so it doesn't feel like it's going to go in there though. Nope, that's not gonna work. So that's one thing And that's what I found out before too. I don't know, like I said, the spur gear I just put in there is the same size. It's got the same diameter size as that 10 tooth I took out of there. I mean, I measured them and they're the same size. So with this screw in there, it was leaving the gear mesh a little sloppy. It wasn't very sloppy, but it was just enough to make that noise. And I needed that 10 tooth out of there anyways because this motor overheats. So hopefully now that I've got a 9 tooth pinion gear in here and the gear mesh is set correctly and that grub screw is tightened down and thread locked, I'm not going to take this out for at least 24 hours, give that time to dry. But let's go bash this thing now.